I just want to go ahead and thank our sponsor, Roundly X, for sponsoring us and help partnering with us, the Bitcoin Live Show network, and of course with 3D Changes Perspectives. So go ahead and go to roundlyx.com and see how you can DC into crypto easier and easier than ever before. Dang, that's still an awesome intro. Thank you again, Roundly X. And today we are going to be talking about hashing the coins versus the tokens. Because, like, every time you get into cryptocurrency, even when you get into collectibles, you're going to hear these terms coin and token, coin and token. And it's crazy how some people view it one way or another, but there are actual like ways to determine which is which. And I want to like change your perspective on what how to view that, how to do that, and what that actually is. So, what exactly is a coin? And I do mean the word coin. Well, it's just a piece of metal or digital hash that represents some form of wealth. And I think that really kind of pulls into what that really means is it can be used, right? So if we go into the history of coins, which is the QR code right above my little head, um, it will actually direct you to this Wikipedia page. All the ones that I go to today, if you scan the QR on the right side, it'll take you to the article on the left or whatever we're looking at on the left. So please follow along. And if you're watching this on a replay on like YouTube or Twitter or something, you can still follow along, play around, or even learn more later, which is always fun, right? So coins are, like I said, normally metal, but they can also be wood, composite, other various physical things. And also, it's a type of hash, but we'll get into the hash here in a second. So, if we go through here, we can actually see, they were at one time stamping into it. We still kind of stamp into it, but differently. We can see there have been different sizes, shapes, even beads have been used as a coin. So, really, these things or they want to be pressed, they want to be round. It seems to be the more common way to go with them. And at one time, some coins had little threads going around it, and people would clip it off. And whenever it was completely clipped, that was basically a not a good coin anymore. And people were clipping it as if like change or something like that, but to earn a little bit from that piece of metal. And if you really want to have like a good ideal of what I'm talking about, like a lot of people know Chuck E. Cheese or some form of arcade, and so a currency like that, like it doesn't really have a value, but it is used as a wealth. It's actually used as a value. Like if you was to hodl a bunch of Chuck E. Cheese coins, if you have one in your area that still exists, you can illegally, but you could sell them at cost value, and they would go in and still be able to use them. So it's not like they were worthless just because they exited the building. So the important part with coins really is that it's imbued with a wealth value. It allows it to have some form of usability at the baseline for things. Like best example I got is fiat coins can be used to buy goods. They can be used to play in the arcade machines. Like even if you had like a faux 25-cent arcade machine coin, it can still be used as a 25-cent piece in that arcade machine. And actually, up until about 2003, uh, a lot of the faux 25-cent arcade machine coins in America could actually be used in soda machines in America because the weight was close enough. And so that's a direct usability with the coin. And that's where we say wealth. That's what we're considering wealth right here. And if we go over to digital coins, we can actually see they have a flow chart of what they consider into being the value points of money or how wealth can be used, transferred, and obtained. And we can see there's a lot of different things in here, and I don't think it's complete. But for even with digital currencies like Bitcoin, there is a way to put them into this so it still works. And if you go through this list right here, you'll see basically they're just going to explain which coins came first, why they were being used. In a lot of cases, digital coins is actually used for companies. Cryptocurrency just happens to be the most recent version of that. And what makes the cryptocurrency one so special is the fact that it uses hashing. And we've kind of gone over a little bit of hashing before. I have an entire episode over this digital signings. So some of this is going to seem kind of familiar, but what we're looking at is you can see here I typed in Alice to Bob, right? And we have this nice little hash out here. So what we're really doing is we're actually making a transaction. We're calling a transaction. We're making a statement. It's almost like if you went to the bank and you fill out a little piece of paper that says, I want to transfer this money from me to someone else, like a wire transfer or anything like that. But instead of the paper just being then reinitiated or whatever, where actually that paper is now being turned into a hash. What's on that paper is being turned into a hash. And the hash, for many reasons, are going to be whatever type they are. But the important part here is that this hash is what we call an unspent transaction um, output, which means a transaction happened. This is the output from it. And when it gets spent, we'll see something like um, Alice to Bob, $1.23. And the previous unspent transaction is now you see our token or our coin in reality has actually grown. Now in the digital space, we tend to call all the hashes a form of token unless it actually has that usability. So that is why I kind of skipped up there and said token immediately because in hashing, it is always a token. But anyways, the the point of this is these allow you to talk within systems. A lot of times, what we actually see these being used for, like these actual coins, we're seeing them like when you go perform an action online or something, and it's being used to make a statement or a call to the system. And of course, cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Monero, all of these different things where what we call a coin there, it's native to the chain. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit more, but I want to make sure you understand that that's a big difference there is it's native to the chain. It has a direct usability on that chain, and it is an equivalent to even Chuck E. Cheese coins or fiat currency in the forms and ways it's being used. Um, so now I want to explain a little bit of what an actual token is. Um, so tokens basically mimic a coin all the way up to the point of actual usability. So tokens can be almost anything, and many in similar ways to these coins, like you see here, we have one stamped out of metal. This is a police coin. Um, I actually use that in one of my examples, so you guys will hear a little bit more about that. We hear a Red Dog Saloon coin, good for one. Uh, Soar, I'm not entirely sure what that is. I don't really want to ask. So when you see that they're basically trying to be used for the same concept, um, but there is some form or level of trust with these coins that are mandatory in order for them to have usability of any kind. But the difference is, not everyone can make a technical coin, and almost anyone can make a technical token. Um, so a lot of times when we're seeing like the tokens and stuff, the best way to describe one of these would be like if you're playing a video game and you have money in that video game, that's a token. Um, so I want to switch over to security token because this is the most common way we use tokens in the real world. And I mean that in real life, of all types, this is the most common way we use it. We actually use it to secure things. We can create extremely strong hashes that can be done in various different ways for a very different reason, which we've just, discussed some of these already with, hash signing. And this is kind of important because the token of a security system is what proves either A or B something did or did not happen. And the great way to understand um, like tokens, like especially security tokens, is you're not directly transferring them. They're non-direct or indirectly transference. Um, and this gets kind of confusing, and this is still true with blockchains, but all that means is that you personally are not the one actually sending or doing something that involves the transaction. So something that we see a token in absolutely every single day is when you do a CAPTCHA. Every time you do a CAPTCHA, every time you verify you're a human, you send a token somewhere, and you have no control over the send or anything of that matter. You don't even see it happen, and that is an indirect transference. Um, where if you was like on Bitcoin, like you have the ability to directly transfer on there. Um, and so it's a bit confusing, but um, we do see these also being used in cryptocurrency. You probably know a lot of them from like an ERC token, like Shiba Inu or something else on Ethereum, um, which you really those rely on Ethereum network to cause or perform the transfer. So they are also indirect transfers. You might have a lot more control with them, but they're still not actually being transferred by you, which is a little bit scary. So let's just go into the actual digital token side. I think this is where I'm probably going to spend a lot more of my time. So you might want to strap down because it's not very long. Now, this page right here, we see it's not Wikipedia, it's Markets Wiki. The actual Wikipedia for digital token is now digital currency and cryptocurrency. Um, which I just want to look that up real fast, which I don't have that on my thingy, so I apologize. I didn't think about that for a second. Um, but when we go into these, they're also going to cover coins, and that's why I don't have it up on here. I just have this one on here. This one explains it kind of well. It is indeed a hash. It is a type of digital asset. It's not exactly a digital currency in all states or all forms or all looks. And we can see that it has even been used by the Russia as a rewards program and Russia for Burger King, which is kind of cool that a major corporation in another country that managed to make that happen for a lot of people. Um, we've also seen it for many other things. We see here the SEC is currently trying to regulate. And when you think about what is more regulatable, is it going to be digital currencies as in coins or tokens? It's going to be tokens because I can't just spin up a Shiba Inu chain and start sending Shiba Inu without Ethereum. I'm reliant on Ethereum to send those tokens, as an example. Um, any chain where you're using a non native token, it can be regulated outside of your control, and we've gone over this in a previous episode in a very convoluted way, true. But if you go watch the episode about proof of stake versus proof of work, we actually explain how now, because Ethereum is proof of stake, the entire chain is proof of stake, the coin, Ethereum, is now technically a token, even though it is native chain. Everything else does rely on it to perform transactions. It can be regulated. It can transactions do are harder to get through in some for some people, not for everybody. And last time I checked, about 5% of the entire network is having problems transferring Ethereum. And when we say it like that, 5% of problems means their stuff is being put into uh, like it's going to be put into a block, but never actually blocked. And that's because of some of the regulating actions now on Ethereum, which is scary. But this is the kind of the real point of what we'd call a digital coin versus a digital token is these digital coins, they have an ultimate power behind them that it's hard to see until something like this happens. Like when Bitcoin first came out, people still didn't believe that tokens existed on the internet. People didn't believe digital currency existed on the internet. And there were multiple different major booms of digital currencies online. And the number one most used digital currency online are tokens, and they are for so many different things. Like if we go in here and we look, we can see um, the digital currency has a specific type of meta group name, has its own section in this wiki, and then it goes into like virtual currencies and then cryptocurrencies because, well, to be honest, like there's a lot here that people don't even realize exist. Like we've had digital money online technically since the 70s. Um, we can see here if we just take a quick gander. Um, Several digital currency options were reputed by the use of Ponzi schemes and money laundering, but were also prosecuted by the U.S. government for operating without an MSB license, like Q coins or QQ coins. But at the same time, if we go up a little further, we Coca-Cola offered buying from vending machines using payments like PayPal and launched its USDC denomination service in 1998. Yes, um, Coca-Cola and PayPal actually launched a token in 1998. I got into digital currencies in 2002, um, and there were major companies all the way back then. And if we look, one of the first major known cryptocurrencies, one we would actually call a cryptocurrency, digital cash, started in 1989. And there was one before it, but we would not call that a digital currency. We would actually just call that a um, digital token, the other one. Um, so it's a little bit scary that this stuff is going on. We see here e-gold, um, 1996. This is the one that's first widely used online, which I, yeah, it worked quite a bit. There were actually companies that accepted it and stuff. But then when we started getting to human verification systems, we really got into tokens like crazy. Um, and yeah, okay, I don't need to go any further. I'm just going to keep going into the like central bank digital currencies that are coming out, and a lot of these being sold as a coin. This is the part that you really need to think about. The ones that are being sold as a coin that are not a coin all try to mask and pretend to be a coin in order for you to obtain it. While all the ones that are coins, they don't have to mask or hide or market anything. The only thing they tell you is you can use it like this. There's a specific way to use it. If you have fiat currency from your country, coins, not the bills, but the actual coins, so you have like 50 pence or something, you can go use that in ways that you see fit. But the basic way of it being used is you're handing it to someone else. Um, things that are being sold as a token, they're more for like, I hate to say it like this, but they're more for collectibles, clout, or they're a stand-in. So that cops token we saw earlier, um, it works like this. Cops would get this token for being a cop. So when they're not on duty, they could go into places and show they were a cop. And basically, at a lot of places, they'd get a free drink. Even nowadays, many cops still get discounts at places for being a cop. So that's what this coin did. Is it simply allowed cops to prove they were cops. So it as if money, but not money. And that's kind of an important part of it being a token. It doesn't have any value, but even to this day, having one of these tokens could be worth something. And I think that's where we start going into the more important part of the conversation is, are tokens valuable? We know coins are valuable because they have a direct usability, but are tokens valuable? And so I wanted to pull up, these are some of the most valued worthless tokens. Yes, I said that right. Most valued worthless tokens. What we mean by worthless, we mean it has no direct usability whatsoever. Um, a penny does count in a lot of places nowadays. There are some places that they won't accept pennies. Some vending machines don't accept pennies. So yes, a fiat currency can be a token. But if we look over here, we can see we have various different like Civil War coins. We have just old coins for places that either don't exist or they're not accepted anymore. We have some that are just strictly to showcase, like for example, this building. We have some that are just simply, basically, they are for looks. They're to represent a time in history, or they are what we would call Silk Road coins, or coins that were made by individuals used as a fiat currency. Um, and as we get in here, you're going to see cryptocurrency, because there is cryptocurrency tokens, and I even have a Bitcoin token. If you don't know what that is, it is a physical coin like this, but it's actually, we would call it, in collectibles, we'd call that a token because it has no real usability, and it represents Bitcoin. It has some that represent the year it was made, and I have some that represent wallets. So each one of these, that I have some of these, they're actual wallets that store Bitcoin, or store the keys for controlling Bitcoin on the blockchain in your physical hand. And you can see Ethereum is probably I would say, the king of tokens nowadays. It has some of the most number of tokens on its chain, and then that's where we start to go, are tokens valuable? Because the more tokens we see on chain, the more this question is going to be asked, because we're going to see people using it as money. So let's go to the most valued tokens. We see a lot of these tokens are the same tokens. So some tokens that are completely worthless, they may still be completely valuable, meaning they're worth a lot of money. And some of these tokens here that we see at the very top, they're simply just old tokens. They are aged. There's not many left. It's an extreme collectible item. It's like, for example, like one of these is an old actual token, or that used to be a coin, used, how to usability and all that. And you see this stamp, that little hole in the top of the token, that stamp turns it directly into a token. If you look, this one's actually for, it actually is a token. It says Northwest Company token. And this was probably used to pay employees. So this is a company that created money out of thin air. And every time we see companies that had done this, especially in America, you have um, the coal miners problems, where there was a lot of coal miner places that would pay people in a currency they created that was completely worthless, and it trapped the coal miners to abiding everything by the company, and basically putting um, generations of humans into slavery. Um, it was a scary time, but there have been many times like that, and we're starting to see another one, which is scary. So you need to know how to determine differences between a valuable token and a non-valuable token. Um, so how do these things like break the mold though? Like cryptocurrency coins and tokens, they really do break these molds that we have, even though they still follow along with them. And in some cases, a token and a coin with cryptocurrency can almost be interchangeable, but not quite. There might be just one or two points of the definitions that hold it back. Um, like in many ways, you can transfer digital coins like Monero or Bitcoin off chain, and some tokens can actually be transferred in that way as well. So the most common way to do an off-chain transfer is by putting crypto into a key, handing up that private key, and then the person sweeps it pretty much in front of you, so you can't take that coin back from them. Well, we can do tokens in that same manner, where I can put tokens in a wallet, and I can hand up that wallet key. Um, so that's how we do see digital transference, or um, usability, direct usability with tokens on cryptocurrency. Um, yeah, there's a little bit more trust that has to be taken in place, and again, tokens automatically require some form of trust. Um, if you have a uh, if you have a smart contract that's like handling your token transfers, people have to trust that contract, because they don't have control over it. They can't change it. They can't modify it. They can't do anything with it. They have to trust it is however it is. And it's because like tokens are super easy to produce in various different ways, that cryptocurrency tokens have become more of like an accepted standard for currency. As scary as that is for a lot of people, yes, cryptocurrency tokens are now more accepted than actual cryptocurrency coins. This is what the really banks not banks, really breaks the mold though, is that it's not strictly deemed in one way. And as fun as it is, a lot of these things are deemed by individuals or groups instead of like big entities or governments or corporations or laws. So, but are they still good for in security? Are they still used in security? Yeah, all the time. Actually, they're really great for security because of we have so many different ways to hash. So we have so many different ways to secure these tokens, um, and that's kind of helpful because every time we log into websites now, you're probably sending out a token. I already explained the captchas, and I could go on and on and on about everything that uses a token. Even your banking app uses internal tokens when doing things through the internet. Um, it's still super great with security, and it don't want you to get confused with saying, "Oh, well, if a token's great for security, all tokens are secure." Nah, we're saying that tokens can be used as security. I could grab a bunch of worthless tokens on Ethereum or on EVM or on Wax, and I can use them as a security method where basically I can build an application that as you do certain things, your account uses these tokens on chain that you don't even know is going on. And then that allows the app to be able to verify maybe you do hold that wallet. Maybe you are actually performing an action that you want to perform. Maybe you're not a bot. Maybe you're not malcode or a hack or something like that. And this is kind of cool because that is a type of direct usability, even though we don't have direct transference with these tokens. Um, and so when we want to say are digital tokens just as good as coins, the scary thing is in many ways they are just as good as coins. But at the same time, though, they have to rely on another token or another coin, and so they can only be as good as that coin they rely on. In other words, uh, if you remember Ethereum when it was proof of work, you knew that it was easy to get transfers, it was easy to send and receive. You didn't have to worry about, oh, well, block producers don't want to block you. You could just spin up miners and hope that you get a block, or you could pay a service to get put into a block, and then they went to proof of stake, and now people are actually having problems handling just base Ethereum. And if there are block producers not wanting to produce your block, well, you're just going to be sitting there, and you ain't going to be going anywhere. And that's the scary part of coins is a coin can be modified and changed over time, and and that has to be looked at. Devs can change things like coins and stuff over time and how they can change the security and other points. And we probably will have to eventually talk more about how coins evolve because we have many coins like Monero every 6 months is updated, changed, and modified. And well, for their security actually, and it's one of the few tokens that or one of the few coins we see do something like this, where they have dedication to this every 6 months, and they have been keeping up with it. But if we really want to go into like, is your token and coin valuable? We kind of need to look at some tokenomics. Um, Tokenomics, it is this concept or ideal of how a token or coin is used. And within economics, I don't believe the term coinomics is an actual thing, but tokenomics has always been the way to talk about how a coin is used. So if we look right here on the screen, we have basically a platform and an exchange. Those are two different sides of the coin, you can say, because platform can also be individuals, it can be the company, it can be the government. What we call the platform can be anything. Basically, it has token or coin, and it allows you to be able to use it. So we see here, goods and services can be using it towards it and from it. So any one of these things, it doesn't have to exactly issue it, doesn't have to create it. It just has to have it. So if you have coins in your pocket right now, you may be considered a platform in some tokenomic models. Um, While exchanges, that's going to be the regulation side of things. That's going to be your banks, that's going to be your SEC, that's going to be everybody and everything else outside of the rest of the network. And in this case, with the way this tokenomic is set up, they're actually saying the exchange side is speculation, the rest of it is value creation, and that is a great way to look at it because if you're going to get into a token and the only thing they are dipping into is the speculation side of it, well, it has no reason to go up. It only has reasons to go down in value. And that might help you decide if you are, wanting to get into that token or not, or even that coin. Because there are some coins that have no real value creation. They only have speculation. And those are some seriously scary coins. So, suppliers, network, and consumers. These probably look a little bit more familiar to a lot of people. Suppliers may be how a company obtains its goods. It may be like people on the street selling stuff, vendors, all sorts of ways. It could even be, your vending machine itself. Consumers are going to be the people purchasing things. They're using the token or the coin for the good or the service directly. And then we see network. And even in this model, which isn't a model exactly for cryptocurrency, it's actually for more like real world, fiat. We see here network is a combination of work output for token input. That's right. So work output to obtain, receive, or generate tokens. And there are various different networks that may exist. So, for example, if you go buy something from the market, that market they obtains goods from suppliers. Well, they might have a network to ensure that they are obtaining currency to be able to keep gaining these things. For example, customers come in and they have to work to get those customers in. Those customers pay with these tokens or coins, allowing them to do what they need to. And if you see, network, consumer, and suppliers can all talk to the exchanges, but the platform does not talk to the exchange. The platform can be the exchange, and that's when it's all speculation. If your supplier, network, and consumer is inside the speculation side, then your platform is the exchange. But for most things, the suppliers, network, and consumers won't be in the speculation side. You might have some consumers in the speculation side, and you really shouldn't have suppliers in the speculation side. But now, thanks to DeFi, that is a thing. And network shouldn't be in the speculation side, but it can be with some proof of stake tokens. So we get into these scary points of is it valuable? Yeah, it can be very valuable. Is it worth its own weight in value or gold or anything? Probably not. Um, but if you think it is, that might be a pretty good token for you to jump into. Um, there's, well, there is more forms of these tokenomics setup. Um, if we just go up a little bit, we can see that there's actually various different types of tokenomics. Um, and in this case, this is one major type of tokenomics. This is the science of tokenomics. Something you'll learn in a lot of economy classes nowadays. So basically, we have the monetary. So it has wealth value. It is coinable. We have corporate finance. So basically, they have some kind of fundraising or pooling set up to create funds. Then they have market finance, which now that's exchanges, that's your speculation side of things. Then we have game theory. This is commonly used in DeFi to try to produce demand and hype for a token. Now, I don't want you to be confused with marketing, but marketing does fit in game theory. If they had another little spot over here for marketing just for digital coins, marketing and game theory would be overlapping. And also, marketing would be overlapping with corporate finance because marketing does take effect in tokenomics nowadays, and it does go into both of those sections. And then we also have futures of tokens. So, meaning, like things that may appear in the future, but really what this should say is usabilities of tokens. If your token has a meaning of exchange, it can actually be used for goods or service, not just used on exchanges. Don't get that confused. Um, if it has a unit of account. And then a lot of times, like you see here, economic metrics inside the token ecosystem. So a good way to look at this is like Bitcoin's unit of account is Satoshi. It's the baseline unit of the entire thing. It's also how all metrics on the Bitcoin network are valued. Um, it is the economic metrics inside that token ecosystem. Then we have store of value, savings, and investment. And so these last three things down here, you only need one of those for it to have usability. But if it has two of them, then it's considered a lean token, which means it's getting some hardship to it. It's starting to become hard, it's starting to become what we call a hard currency, but at the same time, it's not. Or if it has all three, it's considered a hard currency. This is a currency that's going to my bad. This is a currency that's going to survive longer than others. This is one that has a reason to go up and has a reason to go down. So this is one of those ones where if you can look at these things for your token and your coin, and you can go, okay, where's the where's the monetary part of it? Okay, for example, Bitcoin. Bitcoin creates tokens from people wasting energy. And I don't really like to say that phrase, wasting energy, but basically they are performing large amounts of math. That math requires effort, it requires chips, it requires things. It can't just be boop, done, let's go. Um, it does require, now keep in mind, at one point in time on Bitcoin, there was a button to just create tokens out of thin air, but that wasn't actually a feature of the network. That was a feature of the wallet. And nowadays we actually have protections against that. But then you have to go, okay, now we know it has some form of money worth. We have a reason for that money worth to be there. Does it have backing? Does it have a pool anywhere? And a lot of times with people asking me, what should I get, this token or this coin or this or that? I say, can you exchange it for a coin you'd rather have? You can accept any token or coin out there as long as you can get it to a coin you'd rather have. And if it's not something you're going to hold for a long time, then that shouldn't the value of that token or coin shouldn't matter. So if you're seeing exchanges and stuff saying, well, we don't accept blah 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 because they're not as worth as valued or whatever as another one, that actually means something else. That basically just means, hey, we don't want to deal with that coin. We don't want to take the time out and work to make it usable on our side, because if it's worth half a penny or if it's worth 10 pennies isn't going to matter to the people who are just immediately exchanging it out for Bitcoin or Ethereum or, you know, anything else. The financial market. So you really need to look at how many do exchanges exchange it. So this is still kind of the same question that you're asking for the first one. And that's a good way to look at it when you're starting to get into a token or coin. Are there pools? Are there ways to exchange? Are there exchanges? Can you use them? How much does it cost? Is it worth it? All these little things. Does it cost? Do I need another coin? Do I need a coin to back up my token transfer? All these things matter, and you should really be looking at them, because if you can't have one of these two options here, you might not be able to trade that token. And there's lots of them out there where even coins that once you obtain it, you have nothing you can do with it. Um, and so it might not be for you in that case. Game theory doesn't matter. Like if there is a game theory, then there's a reason to go up. If there is no game theory, there still may be a reason to go up. But game theory on its own can cause demand. And that's kind of important, because if you see there's a game theory and you're late in the game, you might not want to get into it. But if you see it has a game theory, you're new and it's brand new and you're right there, you might want to jump in on that. So game theory may determine if you're going to get in now or not get in at all to that specific coin or token. It's a way of deciding, am I late for this individual coin or token? Because yes, you can be late for a coin or token. And that's just another way to look at it. This is actually creating a game theory with you and the token or coin by simply trying to figure out if there's a game theory for that token or coin. kind of fun, right? And then last part, again, when you're looking at stuff, you need to look at these features of token, these usabilities. How many does it have? Is it just barely usable with one? Is it lean with two? Or is it hard with three? Um, and I know some people are going to say, well, there's more things we can put down here. But no, if it's a game token that can be used on exchange, then it has a medium of exchange because it can be used in a game for things, has now a unit of account because we can be using it in uh, exchanges to exchange it to other things, which means it does have some form of metric. And right now, it just doesn't have a store value. The store value is based on the game's popularity. So I put that at a lean coin or token. Well, that might be something that convinces you because all of these things matter in your tokenomic, in your what you're looking at, and it's going to determine if you need to use that coin quickly or if you can let it sit in your wallet for a few years. And that's kind of the really important thing I hope you get out of this is determining how to tell what is a coin, what is a token, how to then determine if it's good for you, what steps to go through to look at these things. Um, because like as long as like tokens help build up independent communities, people are going to be willing to accept them. They will exist in the future markets. I don't see them ever disappearing. And we see coins and tokens being accepted and held by many new entities and old entities nowadays, and like big corporations, right? And then they will keep pushing for more unique ways to create or use or do tokens. So not everything will work, but you know, they're gonna be here. Like I don't see any end to coins or tokens, especially cryptocurrency forms, anytime soon. And so basically a coin is a baseline using and direct transferring system. I'm going to go back to tokenomics. Um, so if I hand you a coin and you accept it, direct transferring. If I send a UTXO on the blockchain and it's put into a block, direct transferring because it's not requiring anything else to cause that transfer. A token requires some form of baseline system, which is considered trust, in order to work. Interaction with CAPTCHA systems needs to basically it needs you to work on the CAPTCHA for it to send a hash, and if that hash means yes or no, they are indeed or not indeed a robot. The sending of Shiba Inu requires the EVM coin for gas to actually send. Therefore, it's relying on that EVM, ERC, or BRC, or whatever chain that you're using it on. Um, but because of blockchain decentralization, distributed networks, or I should say decentralized distributed networks, we have faster chipsets in computers and phones. We basically have a use for more types of both coins and tokens. Like the number of types of these coins we can have is almost never ending. And same thing for the tokens. Even though we do see a lot of copycatting going on, I do believe that the more unique versions of tokens and coins that come out, the more important they're going to be in the real world of being used within its tokenomics. So we could like basically one day use tokens to verify our coin wallets to actually have mnemonic-less wallets. Mnemonic phrases is that phrase that you store your wallet with without having to memorize all 256 characters of your private key. Um, but there are ways, ideally, within tokenomics, within the metrics of cryptocurrency, and within how blockchain systems work, there is a way to use tokens to verify coin wallets. As fun as that is, I could basically, instead of creating a wallet, I could create a token. And that token on EVMs, for example, is also going to have a wallet. Now, I can send out tokens to connect my wallet to services, and we can send and receive these tokens amongst peoples to verify I have my wallet. I don't have to have my wallet key. Um, and I can even get to a point where a contract handles specifically that one token every time I want to buy or spend something on an EVM. Um, the the world is limitless when it comes to digitalization, even though the world has limits. And hopefully now, at least, you'll be able to tell the difference from a token and a coin, and also which is going to be more help for you further on in the digitalization of life. The more of us that we live, like I really hope this helps you guys out quite a bit because this is not an easy subject. And without this subject, well, what are we going to talk about next? There's something really important we got to talk about that involves being able to tell the difference between a token and a coin. And I hope you guys come in next time for that talk. All right, see you guys.